I started the garden go. There was absolutely nothing there. And then through the years, naturally, things grew, and I'm retired, so, I had time for the garden. And I always thought I'd like to do a painted journal of my garden through the seasons. So no more procrastinating. COVID had us all locked in. My lovely trip overseas to visit my daughter in Montreal and son in Washington was all cancelled. I thought, well, I'll start a journal. So as you know, everything was closing, shops were closing. I raced down to Murray's Art Supply and bought this nice Italian paper, watercolour paper journal. I think it was the last one they had left. Everything was going on the shelves, as you know, in the supermarkets and everything. So with a bit of panic buying, I thought, if I can't get to the shops, I need my paints and my paper and everything. So I started the journal in March 2020. And I tried to capture, as well as what was happening in the garden, how we were feeling. It was very edgy, and we didn't know what was happening, and we didn't know how long it would be for. The journal was a lovely project to do. So I started in March 2020, the Tiburtinas are out, and then the camellias start coming out. And then you might remember we had so many butterflies in March. We were just absolutely inundated with hundreds of butterflies. They didn't know we were in lockdown. So I was capturing things like that was happening, plants that were coming up in my garden, the daisies in April, and then I had a lovely experience of seeing a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. And I'd have never done that if it hadn't been COVID. I'd have been rushing around doing all the rushing around things we all do. Yeah. And I saw this little chrysalis, and I was out I was doing a big clean-up in the house. I think we all did clean-ups, taking the rubbish out, and I saw this chrysalis, and I thought, what on earth's it doing there? It was near a hose. I thought it's going to get knocked. And then as I was watching, the butterfly was starting to come out of the chrysalis. It was my COVID miracle. I've just never seen a butterfly emerge like that before. So I sat on this very uncomfortable pot full of parsley nearby, and I raced in and got the camera and the phone and one thing and another, and I'm trying to sort of record the butterfly coming out, and it took 3 hours. But that's what I've got in the journal too, the butterfly sort of emerging from the chrysalis. And then it's Easter Saturday and Easter Sunday, and instead of doing the usual things, we're all watching it on TV and church services and things on TV. And Anzac Day came, and we weren't allowed to have our ceremonies. So we were all down the end of our drives with candles or torches, and it was just quite a amazing experience. Sort of, we could see flashlights through the street, in the dawn, and it was Anzac Day, and we were, sort of all part of it, but we were apart. It was difficult. Then May comes, and it was time to plant the bulbs, and Mother's Day, phone calls from children, but you can't sort of get together. Various plants. Then it's autumn time, and we were allowed out in Toowoomba for walks more than I think anywhere else. So I still had a pretty normal sort of life that I was doing that way. The book goes on through the seasons, the birds that come, the lorikeets. I had some beautiful orchids in September that cheered us all up. And then finally in June, we were sort of allowed out a bit more, and I went with the painting group to Crow's Nest, and we had a lovely day out, and it was so exciting to sort of be out. I'd never felt this feeling that I couldn't visit overseas children, but it was this extraordinary feeling of they're there and we're using Zoom. So things like that I'd have never experienced or recorded before, I recorded in this journal. And as the year went on, things like Carnival of Flowers, very bright, colourful page. Unfortunately, at the end of the year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, but I'm fine. I had wonderful treatment here and wonderful attention. The blush cancer care nurses were so good in their pre- and post-operative attention, and wonderful surgeon, Dr. Eric Donaldson was my surgeon. All that was really good here in Toowoomba. And then I had a brainwave. I thought, well, look, if I can cover the printing costs and sell it, I can give the profits to the blush cancer care nurses. So that was what I did. I ended up being able to give $1,000 to the blush cancer nurses. And I think we're through and over with COVID now. People sort of getting on with their lives. It was a thing that happened to us all. My escape was the journal, and it was wonderful to have something to sort of think, oh, yes, today I really can do something. I can't go out, or I can't do this. I can't drive to Brisbane because we're only allowed to go 50 miles, 50 kilometres, I think, at that stage. COVID did all sorts of things to us, but brought us together in many ways, even though we were apart. So my COVID experience was a fairly benign one compared to a lot of other people. I had Toowoomba was such an easy place to get around, and you could keep in touch with family and friends in an easier way here. The garden was my saviour. It was my solace during the COVID lockdown and years. And now you look back on it and you really do, you don't think about it as much anymore, do you? You sort of start to forget. So friends who have bought the book and people who have bought the book say it's a nice social sort of comment on what we went through.